Thank you for being here. You're here on a special day, I'll tell you that.
Why is it not working, Jonsey?
They don't want to be locked into a house or an apartment.
Got to follow the social distancing rule.
And some nuff dicks were getting tested, then going in and doing a shop.
COVID. I had it.
Detective George Bennett.
Yeah, he's a bellend. Absolutely.
George, don't say hello to you. Like,
I don't know. I'm actually genuinely embarrassed.
I broke my back. A vertebrae or what portion?
Spinal.
Mate, Jonsey, just do that thing where you just put Bill's talking. Let me see. I can hear him first.
Welcome back to the Social Distance Podcast. We've had a little break, and we're fucking G'd.
Oh, we're so excited. So excited.
Are we?
Ah.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Hey, I want to kick the show off a little bit differently. I've had a bit of time to reflect over the last couple of weeks about things that we could do better on the show. So I'm going to start the show with a little bit of admin. First things first, we said we were going to be releasing episodes every Monday from this Monday onwards. Sort of fucked up with the time zones a bit. It is Monday. We're recording currently, but it's Monday night in Australia and New Zealand. So for you guys down there in the Southern Hemisphere, it's probably going to be Tuesday morning release. Secondly, this show is brought to you by Amila Maldives Resorts, where you can drink vodka with the Russians and lie on the beach, and witchbox.co.nz. Righto, let's go back to what we used to.
Good stuff, Sam.
Touch on the third one there, Witchbox.
Yeah, Witchbox is my mate's little company set up, which basically brings together all different, those online food basket crap, like my Meals on Wheels.
You've sold that well. Food basket crap.
That stuff.
Are you getting a food box out of this podcast? Because
no, but we're getting a
food box. If you're getting a food box that I don't know about,
What's in a food box other than what sort of food?
Well, they have all those give me one of them. One of those online, those preset meals that people order. People who work like 9 to 5.
Oh, like light and easy.
Yeah, like light and easy, and
like Nadia Lim.
That stuff. Yeah,
Nadia's Kitchen.
All those preset meals, they make them for you and they bring them to your house on a Monday, and you have all your meals set for the next week. So
when you got CBF.
That's right. My mate started a website called witchbox.co.nz, which puts all of those options in one convenient place.
So is it spelled witch, like WITCH box?
No, like which, like choose which one you want.
Do you know what he's done here, your mate? He's basically, it's kind of like, he's almost like the real estate agent of the food world, because what he's done here is he's not himself making food boxes. He's just going, all right, I'm just going to bring all this information together, and then and it's like hotels.com, you know what I mean? But for food boxes. So basically you can just find a better deal from this bloke.
Exactly.
And actually he's not in the kitchen. He's not chopping up carrots.
No, he's no chef. He's but that's what people need. They need convenience, and that's what he's brought.
Okay,
us.
I feel like we've got stuck on Witchbox. Should we kick on?
Yeah. Okay. Right. How you going, George? You sound flat as a shit carter's hat, and you're in a good position to win the Vuelta. So I don't know what the fuck you need to get a rocket up your ass.
Yeah, I don't know. Just left all my energy in the last 6 months somewhere. I don't know. You're right. I'm just I'm done. It's classic rest day blues, though. You get those.
Sam, let's be honest. We predicted this, didn't we? We spoke off air, and we knew George was going to be on a bad one. It was an epic stage yesterday. George rode his ass off, and we knew that he was going to need a bit more motivation.
I don't know why you're so hard on yourself, GB. You're doing awesome.
I'm doing shit, but the team's doing awesome. I'm not doing well.
You're doing bloody great.
Oh, I appreciate the, it's like what a mum always says about their child, he's like always the worst player, but he says, oh, he's doing well. But like, I'm not doing badly, but I'm just not that good, like I'm just like standard. Like I'm not sick. I'm I'm just absolute base level, you know. So like the good guys go, and then I'm exactly where I am on GC. Like I'm the 11th best climber in this race, but there's a huge difference. There's miles between the best 6 or 7 guys and then me, and it's just like, which is fine. You know, I'm good enough to do my work, and we're winning. And well, we're not winning actually. We lost. We're coming second, but it's a bit presumptuous, isn't it? Assuming that we're going to take over in the time trial. We're in a good position going into the TT tomorrow. But I don't know. I'm just tired. I'm allowed to be tired. I'm doing a Grand Tour, and I'm also allowed. Yeah. This is what I also get sometimes is what you guys are doing now. You're trying to pick me up and stuff. But if I say I'm not going good, I'm not gonna like when I'm flying. I'm not gonna say I'm not going good. Like when I'm going real well, I'll be like, I'm going quite well. But I know I'm not going that good. So like I appreciate like, you know, it's good, you're going well, but I'm not. So like I'm not gonna suddenly go, oh, you got a good point there, I am going well. Like I'm not going shit, but I'm not going well. I'm just like, you know what I mean? You're
right. You're right. We came in a bit hot. You're fucking creeping, mate. We're disappointed in you. You're letting the team down. I don't know why you're wasting your time.
This is more the energy I'm looking for. This is more the vibe I'm sort of digging for today. Just you know what it is? It's also classic rainy rest day. Like it's a come down from hell. Like, you know, big weekend. We had 2 Queen stages Saturday, and then we had Anglery yesterday. We had a 350k drive last night. Got to the hotel at 11:30 or something. By the time you get to bed, it's 1 a.m. Wake up today, pissing with rain. You're on the rollers. And then you're staring down the barrel of another week, and you're just like, oh, Grand Tours, love them.
You know what? I'm going to burn a match early here, Sam. We need it. I've dug deep on YouTube. I've found a clip that's a bit of a hybrid. It's got a bit of Rocky in there. It's got the music from Batman. If this doesn't get you at least from a 2 to a 3, I give up. So get into it, George.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us.
Deep down, ask yourselves, who do you want to be? Figuring out for yourselves what makes you happy, no matter how crazy it may sound to the people.
Make a choice, right? You just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide.
Why not? Why can't I be the MVP of the league? Why can't I be the best player in the league? I don't see why. Why can't I do that?
You said to the kid, it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit. And keep moving forward. How much you can take. And keep moving forward. Get up. Get up. And don't ever give up.
We can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time.
To be able at any moment to sacrifice what you are for what you will become. Most of you won't be successful because when you're studying and you get tired, you quit. I don't do well in math. You're right. You ain't never studied. I'm not good in writing because you have never written before.
Talent you have naturally. Skill is only developed by hours and hours and hours of beating on your craft. If you are not making someone else's life better, then you're wasting your time.
Don't cry to give up. Cry to keep going. Don't cry to quit. You're already in pain. You're already hurt. Get a reward from it.
Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not point the finger saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
Because every day is a new day. Every moment is a new moment. So now you got to go out and show them that I'm a different creature. Now, I'm going to show you how great I am.
Does that get you going, George?
Yeah, I think there was a few juices flowing, but the whole time I couldn't help but think we're going to run into a few admin issues where you're going to cop a bit of criticism from Jules about these long cutaway clips.
Mate, that's got a lot more juice in it than the chick that bought the Banksy painting.
Yeah, no, I thought that was good. It's interesting how susceptible we are to like quotes and motivation.
Oh yeah,
like, I remember in the Agassi book, he had this great thing where he talked about like everybody's a hero in the shower. Like, you know, you have a hot shower and you're like, before you go out and you think like, I'm gonna, you know, you're thinking about all this stuff you're gonna do, and you're gonna, you know, everyone loves a quote and everyone's a hero when they're watching like The Last Dance. You know, that was for me that was the most motivational things I've ever seen. And I was thinking there like, yeah, I'm really just gonna really be the champion and all this stuff. But it's so much different. Like the cycling equivalent is everyone's a hero when they're on the rollers, like in the warm up. Everyone's like, you know, that they're imagining like pushing these huge watts and railing these corners and taking minutes out of people. And it's a real smack in the face sometimes when you roll down the start ramp and you're about 40 watts off pace and you got a headwind and people are passing you, and it's just. But I do like. No, I appreciate it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I appreciate a good video like that. I think that was good, and I'm definitely from a 2 to a 3. So I think we'll call that.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, we tried.
2022.
Yeah.
It's interesting though. You are right. Like you watch those videos and you get pumped up, and like, you know, other videos, and fuck, I used to do it in the track team. We'd always be watching these videos and getting pumped up for the team pursuits and all that stuff. And then you're like 2K to the team, so you're like, oh well, I'm dropped.
I remember playing the first time Any Given Sunday speech I heard it was like 2002, and I remember I was playing footy at the time, just local footy, and I played it via like MP3 to the coach. He's this real old guy, and afterwards he goes, "Fucking hell, Jonsey, can we play that to the boys before the game?" And I said, "Yeah, bloody oath." So we all sat in the room, you know, 22 blokes, listened to it, fucking punching walls, and we got done by 96 points. 96 points. We got absolutely flogged. And afterwards, I said to him, I looked at like the coach, he sort of looked at me as if to go, like, I was to blame for Al Pacino's speech. Like, you know, like just shaking head, like almost we used too much energy in the locker room before we went out.
Yeah, that's the name.
Well, I think with Grand Tours, I think like especially with Grand Tours, I mean, bike racing in general, but like Grand Tours, you can't carry that like that. It has to be a deeper motivation because it's 21 days and you just can't get up like that every day. Like, you know, coming out of the sheds or stepping off the bus, like fizzing and like you say, punching holes in the walls and, you know, thinking about ripping everyone's legs off all the time because like it's just not a sustainable thing. So it needs to be some kind of
it's a quick fix.
Actually, exactly. You have to be headstrong, but actually at the end of the day, like everyone who's made it this far is really good at suffering. Like it's essentially what the sport comes down to. It's an eating competition, a suffering competition, and a training competition. And then like at the end, like the best, it's always the best guys, you know, okay, maybe one guy will have a bad day eventually, you know, occasionally, but like essentially it's just who is at a cellular level better. And that's what I've found here. So like, no matter how pumped up I get, like yesterday I was super motivated to like, you know, like I felt particularly motivated to try to rip it, you know, and I just dropped myself, you know, like I was like at one point I was like, it doesn't matter how motivated I am to push more watts. I literally can't push more watts. So it has to be something deeper than that in a way, doesn't it?
Well,
and you also need to save those mental bullets in those 3-week races as well. Like, I mean, like you say, George, if you watch those motivational videos every morning and every night of a Grand Tour, you just fucking wear yourself out. Like, you actually need to find moments where you really like. You can't completely disconnect from the race, but certainly on a rest day or stages that may not be a lot to do, or a sprint stage for you guys, for example. Okay, sure, you got to make sure you're in a safe position in the final. But you got to take those opportunities to actually be like, I don't need to be G'd up today. I don't need to use one of those mental bullets. And I was having a chat last night with one of the young guys in Michelin, Scott, who's riding the Vuelta at the moment. He's been going really well, and he was chatting to me about whether or not he would go hard in the time trial, and he was sort of asking what I thought about it. And I said to him, mate, like you've got to weigh up what you're going to achieve from doing that time trial. Like he's said that there's stages that suit him in this final week that he really believes he can go well in. And I said, well, if that's what you believe, if you think those stages are your best opportunity to get a result, you're better off saving a bit of energy in the time trial tomorrow, physical energy, to focus on those stages. And then he said, yeah, but how much more damage can I do to myself by going hard for 40 minutes when I've been racing for 2 weeks? And then I said to him, don't underestimate the recovery you get from switching off a little bit on that day, because when you're going hard in a time trial, there's a lot of mental and motivational speeches you need to watch to get psyched up, and it is a real mental bullet that you're using to try to do a good time trial. I said, don't underestimate the fact of switching off a little bit tomorrow, going through the motions, recovering physically again. It gives you an easier day off the rest day, and mentally you're not using a bullet, and then you can really nail that final week. So yeah, enough of those fucking motivational speeches, Jonsey. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, don't even show one of them. Did you say to this young guy on your team, did you say, mate, save your mobile data, save your mobile data on, stop watching Al Capone, and really just
Al Capone. Al Capone. Al Pacino. Mate, you are fried. You are fried.
He's a gangster.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, oh, that's him. Yeah,
hey, we had on the other podcast, the Detour. Rory Sutherland was on tonight, and it was such a good chat about cycling as a whole and all that sort of stuff. But in terms of motivation, what's sustainable, George? And do you think this has been a key with you guys this year? Is you've got to have chemistry amongst your group. Like you've got to have that. Man. You want to bury yourself for your teammates, because if you lose that missing link, then you're not going to be able to dig into those reserves. That's a much more sustainable form of motivation.
Oh man, even to assemble the team here for us. I mean, like after the tour, I was so ready to just stop riding my bike. I was like, okay, I've got broken ribs. I'm completely destroyed. I've been on for months already, and like everything, it was just such a struggle. I was like, it's going to be pretty much impossible to get back to any kind of shape this year now. But then the team rang, and they're like, there's going to be the same group of guys essentially from the tour. You got the same leader, the same chemistry, but and then you think, oh man, it is pretty cool to be part of that group, doing that. The group that can win, and a group that rides like that and gets on together like that. And then that does provide. I think if it was just been like, if it had been like just a sterile business relationship, you just wouldn't put yourself through it, and you just say, oh, I'm actually just going to shut it down for the year. So I reckon that's huge, and I reckon that's like looking at Green Edge. That was probably like where, I guess, like with you girls, you guys found so much success, was just like you were just like the original team that were just a bunch of mates that all happened to be real good at bike riding.
Hey, I tell you what, we've brought a real Detour vibe into the show, haven't we? Like this is quite off piss for us. We're actually being quite sensible and responsible and serious. I'll tell you who's going to love it will be my old man. He's been pushing for this sort of theme for weeks.
Well, I think it's good. I think it's good to show that there's a few strings to our bow, We can turn it on. We can dial up the dickhead if we want, but it's not appropriate when Georgie boy's a little bit down and he's, he probably doesn't want
just fragile.
Yeah. You've got to read the room.
Talking about how you've been going for like 4 or 5 months, like you started with a rip and a roar and bloody those Italian races and going good in Tour de Lan and all that stuff, and then you're into the Tour and now at the Vuelta. How the fuck does Roglic, mate, he is at the top of it. He arguably had a bad day yesterday. He lost 20 seconds. He's been literally the best bike rider every single race he goes to since the 1st of August.
Oh, I wish I knew the answer.
Why don't you get him? Why don't you get him on? Just go knock on his door.
He's on the rollers still. He's still down on the erg. When I left, he was still doing full gas TT efforts, getting ready for tomorrow.
Who else is there? Get Sepp Kuss on, or give us something.
Oh, send us to this.
Hey, while you're doing that, George, we've got another idea that Jonesy and I, we've been spitballing. Jonesy ripped into 6 Smirnoff Black Ice last night, and we were spitballing some ideas about the progression of the show and what we could do. And so, yeah, we had said that we're going to do every Monday. The Social Distance Podcast will be recording every Monday and releasing it Monday night European time, so Tuesday morning Southern Hemisphere time. That'll be every Monday from now until the end of the off season. But we had this plan, George, and we need your opinion because you're part of the show, and we'd actually like to get the listeners' opinion on going live every Friday. So we'll go live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, using whatever fucking thing we need to use to do that. So then it'll be called The Offie. That's the name of the show, The Offie. Every Friday, a live show, casual Fridays, wear Hawaiian shirts, wear
no rules,
dickhead hats or whatever, and the fans, the listeners, the viewers will drive the content. They can fire questions at us live. We can answer them. They can bring up discussion points, and we just have a crack. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I can have a crack. I mean, the problem is with that international. I mean, what time zone are we running? Are we running a Friday night European time?
It'd be lunchtime, I reckon, Euro, and Friday night.
Yeah, but that's good because we're under curfew now because this COVID's race is hit again, and so what are the rules? I sort of missed them. I missed them basically, but you sort of described to me. You're not allowed to stay
one rule
after 10 o'clock.
Oh, I thought you were talking about rules for the show. I was just gonna say the one rule for the show is keep us out of the courts. So keep the conversation out of the courts. Outside of that, let's go. Yeah. Sorry,
right.
Back to the COVID rules.
That sounds all right. So what are the COVID rules? We're not allowed out.
I mean, yeah, we're not allowed out after 10 p.m. You've got to be off the streets. You've got to be home watching Love Actually under your blanket like I did last night by 10 p.m. You can have social gatherings of 6 people, so we can still have some light lunches at someone's house, obviously, because bars and restaurants are closed. Weekends, we're confined to our city alone. But, we make do, mate. We make do. And these Friday live shows...
It's not as bad, eh? That definitely seems more manageable than, one thing that's been quite hard to concentrate a little bit on the race sometimes because you're on the bus in the morning and then they announce you're about to step out into a stage and then they announce suddenly there's a lockdown, and you go, shit, lockdown, and then you think about it. But if you unpack it all, it's got the vibe of March when they said, okay, everybody's going to have to stay at home and all this stuff, but it's actually the nuts and bolts of it aren't as bad. So it's the fact that you can still leave your house is just massive. It's almost like a New Zealand lockdown, isn't it? It's like what they went through.
I'll give you the nuts and bolts of it. Monday to Sunday, you got to be home in your place. You can't be out on the streets by 10 p.m. After 10 p.m. till 6 a.m. You got to be home. You can still have gatherings of 6 every day of the week, and Monday to Friday, you can have those gatherings anywhere in Catalonia. Friday till Sunday, they have to be in Girona or in your province, in your city.
What do you think the curfew is? Why do you think that do you think it's just because people wash their hands before 10 o'clock and then after that they'd just get a skimful and they'd just spray it around a bit more?
Exactly. I think when people get inebriated, they lose a sort of motor function and they lose any sense of responsibility, as we well know. And at that point, people start, passion and sticking tongues down each other's
throats. Is this not just going to
spread the virus?
Is this just not going to sort of create a huge influx of daytime drunks? I mean, that's exactly you're talking about the offie. I mean, that's one of our only times of the year we can probably play up a little bit. And one solution you were suggesting around this is that we just start earlier. I mean, you don't suddenly start
early rotten.
Earlier.
Well, exactly. it's the werewolf model, isn't it? They've just adopted the werewolf model. See how it goes.
Well, yeah, I think the Friday casual Friday is going to be a great show because there's just going to be no rules. It's going to be like this, but worse.
And like we already walk a fine line. We might start losing the left foot off the wrong side of the line on the Friday shows, but we'll still keep it pretty straight and narrow.
I feel like I can bring a bit more energy to a home show on a Friday than I can to a rest day and a grand tour in November.
Well, even the mental, like, well, I was going to say, if you dress up, like wear a shit shirt, like I've got heaps of them in my cupboard in there, and mentally wearing that sort of rags and the shit clothes, you're going to be way more relaxed. And if you bloody have a wine or whatever, like you'll be loving it.
I think if I have 6 Alhambras, I'll be more relaxed.
Yeah.
That's right. And look, I'm not encouraging drinking or getting drunk. You feel free to do what you like. But the idea of the show, and that's why we need the listeners and the viewers to write in and let us know. Would you be interested? It'll be an interactive show. It'll be live, so you can send comments and you can get amongst it and be part of our show for 1 hour every Friday, starting not this Friday, next Friday.
Yeah, and mate, Graham Norton, he does it. Like they can have a couple of reds on his show.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right.
Why not?
Hey, so what are our topics for today's show?
We've got a cracking year.
I'm in for Friday's show, but what have we?
Well, yeah. Do you want to roll off the year we're going to talk about, Buells?
Well, we're going to do the year. I thought we were going to do an election special. We've got the USA election tomorrow. Shit's about to hit the fan over there. The New Zealand referendum results are in. One of which passed, one of which didn't. I thought we could get a little bit political for a moment. Or we could just fuck it off and go straight into our year.
Well, it's a pretty quick summary. Euthanasia is good. And Cheech and Chong got the chop.
Snoop Dogg's not coming.
Yeah. So that's the election wrap up. Well, think of the tax. Think of the tax.
Is it really tomorrow? Are we? Yeah, I know that was an opportunity. That was a big opportunity that they let slide. Is it really tomorrow, the US election? They announce the results tomorrow.
And it's the Melbourne Cup.
They go to the polls tomorrow. They've already been advanced voting in America this year has been tenfold more than ever. They've already had 67% of total votes in 2016. They've already had an advanced voting, and then the polls open tomorrow. And by tomorrow night, American time, we could well know whether we are going down the gurgler or just spinning around the room. Either way, I don't know what's better.
But either way, like if Trump gets in, it's going to be a bit of a shit show. And if he doesn't get in, it's going to be an even bigger shit show. So it's just going to be a shit show.
Can't wait.
Brace yourself for that. It's interesting talking to I got Sepp here, American teammate, and he's obviously in a pretty similar position to me in terms of he lives over here but thinking about going home and stuff. And a genuine thing is he's like, wait and see what the election happens with the election before I decide if I can even get home, because it could be a genuine civil war.
Yeah.
They're boarding up their shops are boarding up their windows and preparing for literal riots, depending on what happens. And I assume by that they mean if Biden gets in, then the old Trump supporters are going to go nuts.
Yeah, I can't imagine the other way around.
You see they attacked Biden's bus in Texas yesterday. So they had the Biden-Harris campaign bus down in Texas. Luckily, neither of those two were on board, but it was a campaign bus. And these bloody rednecks came with their flags out the window, and they were bashing the bus, trying to push the bus off the road. And the cops were just like...
And Biden was in the bus.
You can't do that, because he's a dangerously old man.
He wasn't in it.
If he was in the bus, he wouldn't have been able to... he would have shit his pants, literally.
Nah, he doesn't take crap, Biden. Doesn't mind it.
But he's at that age where, the slightest fright, the bowels, they just give way. He's getting old, man. He's getting old. If you walked up to Biden behind him and went, "Burr," I reckon that'd be enough for soily strides.
He's only 3 years older than Trump, I think.
Is he?
Yeah. I think he's 76 and Trump's 73 or something.
It just worried me when he was thinking of this podcast when he was talking about Trump and he stuffed his name up and he was thinking of George and that. How you stuff up Donald Trump's name that was a bit of a worry.
What? Why? What did he do?
He did an interview, and he, instead of saying, my opponent Donald Trump, he said, my opponent George, and George, and like Donald Trump come out and said, he can't even remember my name. He called me George. He was thinking of George. He was thinking of George Bush.
Oh, fuck.
That's not good. That's what I'm saying. Like if you spooked him, he would literally shit his pants. So,
that's something to look forward to tomorrow, November 3rd.
Yeah. Hey, to all our American listeners, if you want to get out, I'm sure Jason, the Miller Resorts, you could cut a deal. If you're not from Russia, and you've got legitimate reasons, he'll put you up for sure.
I don't know how well the Yanks get on with the Russians. Do they get on that well with him? Arguably not.
You can't go to New Zealand anymore. We looked at when this new lockdown came down, we said, maybe we'll just look at flights to New Zealand and just see what the story is. And we're officially missing Christmas if we try and go home. The first time we can even go into quarantine to start the 2 weeks is 15th of December. So that means you get out on 29th of December. So if you have plans to go back to NZ this year, or Australia, I don't know what Australians looking like, but NZ, you'll be at least missing Christmas. So no matter what happens, we're first Christmas away from home.
Remember the days when you'd miss a flight, even an international flight, and you'd be like, it'll cost me a bit, but I'll just get the next one. And then they go, sorry, the next flight's like 8 hours away. And you're like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Do you remember
what the fuck?
Remember after Tour of Beijing? One year, we went out. It was the last race of the season, obviously, Tour of Beijing, and we went out on the booze. And Jonsey had a real early flight back to Europe. He was on like a 6 a.m. or something.
6 a.m. Yep.
The rest of us had like a midday flight. So we stepped into it at this nightclub in Beijing. And Jonsey, to his credit, was like, "Nah, I'm out of here. I've got to go back. I've got an early flight. Pretty sober." He went home, started editing the backstage pass, and fell asleep and missed his flight after all the effort he made.
No shit. It was the end of the season, so you talk about being pinned. I was so pinned, I fell asleep with the laptop on my chest, and Miha, my roommate, was going, Jonsey, you got to make a flight. And I was like, like talking in tongues, like just fully out of it. And then at one point, Miha reckons he picked me up and I just dropped to the floor. And then he tried a few other things and he's like, nah, write it off. It's on him now. And then I woke up and I was like, what the fuck? What time is it? And he goes, oh, mate, I tried waking you like 3 or 4 times. Like, you're not going to get on the flight. And I literally got in a taxi, floored it, got to the airport, and it was like just as they were clipping up like where you put your bags in, like at the check-in. And the lady said, so she was like thinking about it. She goes, nah, sorry, we can't let you on. You've missed it. And I said, yeah, but the flight's not for like an hour. It should be right. And she's like, nah, sorry, we've shut it all down. And then I'm like, what do I do now? Like, fuck, I'm going to be stuck in Beijing. Like, so then I had to pay $1,600. I think we were going on the Barca pad. There was a second time we went there. So I was like, I'm not missing that. So I went and got on the flight that all the Green Edge boys were on, paid $1,600 to go one way. And then I remember it wasn't a full flight, and all the Green Edge boys are at the front of the plane and they're stretching out in business and loving it. Oh, I'm so ropeable. And then I remember thinking, I'll sit in premium economy. There is no one there. And I sat down in this seat and I'm about to take off. And the lady said, can I check your boarding pass? And I showed her and I was meant to be out the back. And she goes, I'm sorry. So I said, listen, you don't understand. I've had the worst. And I'm trying to explain. She goes, get to the back of the plane. And all the boys in the front were pissing themselves. She's filthy.
I remember watching this whole moment unfold because I think I was the one who encouraged you, James. I was like, fuck, just do it.
You'll be right. You'll be right.
Sit there. I said, just sit down, put your eye mask on and your earplugs in straight away, and then just pretend you're asleep. And then she got Jonsey up, and I was just watching him, and he just about broke down. He's like, you don't know what I've been through.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you have to do the walk of shame the whole way down the aisles back to your seat, and everyone was just watching you?
All right, you want to hear another story? This is the most embarrassing story I've ever had on public transport. This tops them all.
Oh, I've heard this. This is a cracker.
Okay, I can't believe I've waited till episode 15 to tell this on this show. This will get you up and about, George. So I went back to Sale. This would have been 2010, right? Or maybe a bit earlier. I've gone out with the boys. I've had an absolute monster. And then I remember I had to get a train back, and it was like, the 3 p.m.er. And when you've had a big night out and you're feeling crook and you've sort of fought your way through it. Anyway, I sit down on the train, we take off, and my guts just starts rumbling. Like that rumble where it's like the wires between your brain and your asshole, like it's literally like the warning signal was like, it's showtime. And my ass is going, we're on. And my brain's going, hey, whoa. You've just broken this news. We need to process it. You're going to have to give me 10 minutes to sort my shit out here. My ass is going, nah, it's on. So I was like, okay, I've got to go. So the one dunny was at the back of the train. So I go to the back of the train, and as I'm walking, I'm thinking, I'm not going to make it. Like, I've literally got a window of 3 seconds. I get to the back of the train, press the buzzer, shut the door, and I just make it. Like, and it wasn't pretty. Like, but there was so much relief. Like, my brain's going, this could have been horrific. If there was someone in the bathroom at the back of this packed train, it would. I don't know what I would have done. It would have been horrific. It would have been like Joe Biden getting scared. And then all of a sudden, I'm just sitting there, relieved, bead of sweat coming down my head, just looking at the ground. And then I hear this zoom, and the door opens, and this little girl is just staring at me. She would have been like 8 years old. And I look up, and she sees me, and I'm looking at her, and it was almost like this telepathic, like, just walk away, stay silent, don't make a scene, just don't do anything. She screams. She just literally lets out this piercing scream, like she goes, ah! And then runs off. So of course, everyone on the train looks back. I'm talking 50 people on this train. I've got my strides down my ankles. I'm covering like the old fella, and I'm looking at this train. Everyone's looking at me. I'm thinking, this is stuff of fucking nightmares. But the problem is the door's open. No one's shutting the door. So like I'm just sitting there and like, what do I do? So I remember getting up, pulling my strides up, rolling them across, pressing the button to shut the door. As the door shuts, this sign appears and it says, please hold the red button for 4 seconds to make sure the door's locked to prevent serious embarrassment. That's what it said. I obviously was in such a rush, I didn't lock the door. So then I'm sitting there for like 10 minutes going, I can't get off. Like, what am I going to do? Like, but then like you get the knock, like, hello, I need to use the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, well, it's the only shitter on the whole train. I'm going to have to go. So I remember getting out and it was the longest walk of my life because everyone in the carriage, like they're going, is it, that's him. And they're all just doing these ones and like looking back, pissing themselves laughing as I've waddled me way back to the seat. Like it was just, I could not wait to get off at Caulfield, and I just hope and pray that I didn't know anyone on the train. Thank God I didn't. But man,
that's terrible.
Like,
how bad is like toilets on public transports? One thing I've like learned now is no matter how much you need to take a dump, look at the toilet paper supplies, because the stitch up in New Zealand at least, they don't like. There's just that it's serviced once a month or something, and then you're in a real bad situation.
Well, there's nothing worse than having to use your socks. Yeah.
Well, what should be banned? What should be illegal is those wax paper squares that it's like wiping your ass with sandpaper. You know those public tickets?
Yeah, and you always blow a finger. I mean, actually, my worst train experience that I had was
finger through the paper.
Yeah. The worst train experience I had was coming home from the Vuelta in 2016, I think it was, or 15, one of those years, and it was end of my year, and we pushed on in a big way the night before, and we had to there's a 6 a.m. train that leaves from Atocha back to Girona, and it gets to
I'll
like
bet on
4 in
that.
the morning, and my roommate, yeah, it's a shocker, eh? And it's probably like 4:30, we come in and we've gone to sleep, and my roommate, who was pretty lit up as well, but he knew I had to get up, and he also had to get up early, and he's like tried to wake me up, and I was like, oh nah. And I actually woke up, and I was just in such a state that I said, nah, oh mate, honestly, I'm at the point where I'm just going to buy myself a new ticket and the 10 a.m. one, so just don't worry about it. He's like, nah, you got to go. Just leave it. I'll just buy another one later. I just need to sleep. I actually can't get up. And then I sort of go back to sleep, and I hear this noise, and I just hear like something kind of like real, like someone fighting with a suitcase doing something, and then just a drop, and then something out in the street crash. And then he's like, oh, well, you have to get up now. I was like, what do you mean? He said, oh, I just threw your suitcase out the window. So I had to get up. So I had to get up, and then I was like, oh, you're kidding me. So he'd thrown my suitcase, like my handbag, like 3 stories down it was just completely destroyed on the bottom of the street below. And then so I had to get up. And then I was like, oh, I'm awake now. So I had to go get my passport and stuff that was now sitting on the street below the hotel. I was fuming. I had to like drag this like shitty handbag that had been no wheels left on it anymore, and that was my worst trip home.
Yeah, but
what a great roommate though, because like honestly, as I've been there many times, where you wake up, you've got an early flight, you've literally just one year in Poland at the track boards, I went straight from the nightclub to the airport. I told my roommate to bring I actually think I asked the coach to go and grab my suitcase out of my room. But like, there's nothing worse than waking up after 2 hours sleep to catch an early flight and going, fuck it, I'll just buy another one, and shutting it down, and then waking up to deal with that admin. You regret that. You regret that far more than the hungover trip home on the train from Atocha after the Vuelta.
Yeah. So yeah. But Jonsey, I'm still feeling that story. I'm still feeling stories like that end you up on lists that stop you going within 100 meters of skills. You know, like this.
I respected the little girl's decision to scream because it's obviously traumatic, but I was so disappointed with her, you know, that she couldn't show that level of maturity I needed in that split second moment.
Did you go hunt her out afterwards? Did you walk the aisles on your way back and just
nah,
give her like a little...
In fact, I was so traumatized. Like I just remember it was just, I was cold with fear for about a week.
You should have started screaming back. That would have been the only reasonable response in that situation. She started screaming, and you started screaming.
There's one other story, right? That it's an urban legend in Melbourne. All right, we'll get off the shit topic soon, but while we're in those areas, this guy was on radio the other day, and he said like same thing. He went for a morning jog, and same thing. His guts was stirring up and that, and there was nowhere to go, so he went on a tree out in like this park in Geelong, and he's just finished and he's thinking, all right, I'll go put my pants up, and all of a sudden this Doberman comes out of nowhere, just like beating through and just jumps up at him, and he like at the last minute he's still got his strides down, knocks him over, pulls his pants up, and this old lady comes around the corner. She goes, Rover, get out of it, get out. She goes, I'm so sorry, it's not normally like that. She gets her baggie out and picks his shit up. She's sorry about that. Picks his shit up, bags it up, and takes his shit away. Imagine that. Imagine that. If that story's true, it's a belter. How good is that?
He would have been like, oh, no, just forget about it, no worries. That's fine.
How good is that story?
Oh,
I'll tell you what, we've come a long way from that serious part of the show. Jesus Christ.
Jeez. Lost our show.
Jeez. The only thing that could make this show worse is putting your digit through the piece of paper and getting the George Bennett chocolate finger.
Should we?
Should be next time you win a race, you should just go like, just do those ones with the finger.
That's when you get dropped. When you're blown a fingers when you get dropped. Oh, that's when I blew a finger. You did what?
And there comes George, but he's gonna win. Oh, what's that salute?
He's put the finger straight through the one ply.
It's the public toilet finger salute. What a win!
All right, boys.
All right. Deep breaths.
Together ourselves.
Okay.
All right, 1984.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got to do
year.
it quick because I'm actually meant to be at lunch 20 minutes ago. So we're going to do
Okay.
it quick.
1984, great year. Couple of big things happened that year, Bills. Can I just open the batting and say a great story was the 1984 Olympics, and McDonald's tried to do a very clever promotion. I got the commercial.
Feel like you're part of the Olympic action. Play McDonald's. When the U.S. wins, you win Olympic game. It's your event here.
Boxing. If the U.S. wins, then I win.
When the U.S. wins a medal in the event on your game card, you win a Big Mac. Or regular fries. Or regular Coca-Cola. Or win up to $10,000 instantly. So go to McDonald's and collect your game cards, because when the U.S. wins, hey, you win.
I'm in training.
Oh.
Now, the problem with that promotion was the Soviet Union pulled out of the Olympics, which meant America just clean swept, and it cost them a shit ton of money. There was families, like I read a story of a family that they were low on cash, and they literally lived off Macca's for a month or 3 weeks when the Olympics was on, and just cashed in the tickets, eating free Big Macs. And then I think the Simpsons ripped the piss out of it with Krusty Burger. Remember that scene when Homer Simpson gets all the free Krusties? He's in the logo. USA. And then remember Krusty, he cracked the shits because they said it was going to ruin him. He goes, "You people are pigs. I personally am going to spit in every 50th burger." And Homer's like, "I like those odds." Yeah.
The 84 Olympics was interesting because there was like 14 or 15 Eastern Bloc countries that boycotted the 84 Olympics. Soviet Union obviously being a massive powerhouse. East Germany also a massive powerhouse in the
Was that not the
Olympic
terrorist
sport
attack at the Olympics?
No, that was 72. That was Munich.
Yeah. Oh, that was Munich.
But what happened was in 1980, the 1980 Olympics were in Moscow, and the USA led a huge boycott of the Moscow Olympics in protest of the Soviet Union's invasion of Afghanistan. So they thought they'd stand up for the fact that wasn't the correct thing to do at that point in time, even though the Yanks went there not long after, I suppose. But anyway, that was a US-led boycott, and then there was a retaliation in '84. Well, now the games were in the other foot. They're in LA, in America. So the Soviets, along with the other Eastern Bloc countries, said, "Well, stuff you, we're not going either." And
man,
and
that's shit ass, because like you peak as an athlete, right? Like it's not like an annual thing. It's not like all right, I'll miss it this year, but next year I'll be all right. Like 4 years is huge. Like the next Olympics for me will be towards my peak, but the one after I'll be an old man and cooked. So like it's not like, oh, you just missed this one and whatever. I mean, that's people's like whole life goals, or at least the first half of their life's work, let's say, gone because of their, that's the point where you go, okay, politics and sport. That's for the first time you go, okay, I kind of, if it's like a revenge, if it's a revenge boycott, then you're just being a bit ridiculous, no?
Yeah. Do you know what's interesting about the '84 Olympics? Well, it was when cocaine hit California. That was when Escobar was like, "Hey, I've got a plan. Olympics are on. Let's flood California with cocaine." And that was how, because at that point it was just mainly in Florida. Escobar got it all into California, and that's how the cocaine bloody cowboys started.
So what did that do for the 10,000 meter times? I mean, obviously that would have
through the roof.
Yeah.
You should see the post race interviews.
Yeah.
They're talking really fast.
Are they all talking about themselves and chewing lots? Or they just telling stories about themselves?
Yeah, they're hugging everyone. I just loved it.
Heaps of confidence.
Yep.
And even with the boycott, it's still considered now to be the most successful, financially successful modern Olympic Games, because it was when they brought in,
except for Macca's,
who hemorrhaged Big Macs and cash. But it was the start of like a successful business model for the Olympics, because the Olympics is, as we can believe, would be a shitload of money to hold the Olympics. And in '84, LA was the only candidate, because up until that point, these cities or these countries that were hosting Olympic Games were just losing money. They were spending hundreds and hundreds of millions and not getting any of it back. So no one was interested. They're like, fuck, we can't afford the Olympics. So LA was the only candidate, along with Tehran, which was subsequently disqualified from the running because of many reasons I can imagine. So it was in LA. It was the only option. And they brought this new business model in, where they did like low cost construction. They coupled with like resilient private finance companies for funding. And it was one of the few Olympics that actually generated a profit of over $250 million. Very rare.
Holy shit.
They wouldn't be making
like Brazil,
profit nowadays.
No. Yeah, Brazil it killed Brazil, the Olympics in Rio. It was a nightmare. And everyone, the locals couldn't afford to go. And I also heard, like, with Japan, it's like the whole reason that like all our merchandise and stuff, like all our team bags and everything, still say, even our team kit still says Tokyo 2020, even though it'll be Tokyo 2021, because so much merchandise was made that they can't afford to change it. Like it's everything was already made, everything was printed, and the cost of rebranding one letter would have been so big that they have to keep everything Tokyo 2020, hashtag Tokyo 2020, and this is going to be in July 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And protect the brand of the Olympics every 4 years, and always on a even number, no?
Yeah.
Hey, Billy, you're big on the music for the different years. This was a belter of a year for hot tracks.
It was a good year, actually. I run my business model of music off the Billboard Hottest 100 because I feel like it's consistent. I mean, you can scroll the countries and you're going to get different results, but I stick with the Billboard Hottest 100, and it was a good top 10. I mean, I'm really happy with number 9, Ghostbusters theme song.
Oh yeah,
that was number 9.
Yeah, okay.
Because Ghostbusters came out in '84, and then number 1. One of my all-time favorites, When Doves Cry from Prince. Absolute banger.
Yeah, banger.
What's Love Got to Do with It? Tina Turner at number 2.
Banger.
Say from Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson at number 3.
Don't know that.
Nah, neither. Footloose from Kenny Loggins, 4.
Banger.
Terrible
Phil
song.
Collins, Against All Odds, 5. Oh, here's a classic, and God rest his soul, rest in peace. Jump from Van Halen.
Yeah, he died.
He recently died. Hello, Lionel Richie. And number 8, I'm going to tell you the name of the song and see if you can guess the band. The name of the song is Owner of a Lonely Heart. Owner of a Lonely Heart.
That's a good one.
Who sung it?
Wait.
Duran.
Shut up.
No.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Where's your picture gone, George?
Owner of a lonely heart. Owner of a lonely heart.
Who is it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good year. All right.
Yeah.
Music was almost at its peak then.
Queen put out Radio Gaga in 1984.
Oh, that was a wonder though.
Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA.
No,
number 10. Number 10 was Karma Chameleon. I always thought that was George Michael.
No, it's George. Boy George.
Culture Club, yeah.
Culture Club.
Come on. Oh yeah, Karma Chameleon. He comes and goes.
One of the
song about?
Chameleons.
And they got to come. The chameleon.
Is it a sexual reference to chameleons? I mean, what's going on with chameleons?
It was early mid '80s. It's either drugs, sex, or debauchery.
Yeah. You could go down a rabbit hole, and we probably should look into it more next week about what the real meaning for songs are. Like I want you to dig deep on
Yes.
that inner circle sweat. You know that a la 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 long. You know what that's about, Sam?
Yeah, but that song there.
I'm looking at your
That song
big brown eye.
Oh yeah, God.
But the
big
worst
A,
bit of
the
that
big
song-
A. Abstinence.
I actually recently heard another podcast talking about this, and it got me thinking about one of their lyrics in that song. And there's a line in there. They were talking about the song, exactly this actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they exactly the song, and they were saying that there's a line in there that says, and when you say stop, I'm going to push it some more.
Yeah, that's not good.
You want to get away with that in 2020?
No.
Hey, and while we're on music, I want to bring up one of the greats, and he's actually a notable death of 1984. And I didn't know this until I Googled notable deaths of 84, and I came up with 2. I didn't know who anyone else fucking was. Marvin Gaye was killed in 1984 by his father. So he intervened in a confrontation between his mother and father. His old man was obviously pretty hot-headed by the sounds of things, and he just pulled a gun and shot Marvin Gaye point blank. Boom, dead. That's how he died. Yeah,
because I always wondered what doing a Marvin Gaye was, because there's a new song, "Let's Marvin Gaye and Get It On."
Yeah,
and I think that's because he used to have lots of sex.
Well, no, but I the only thing I could come up with in my head was that Marvin Gaye wrote the song "Sexual Healing,"
and he wrote "Let's Get It On," didn't he?
Oh, maybe that's probably more it. Because I didn't know what doing a Marvin Gaye and getting it on was. Because
I think he wrote a song called "Let's Get It On."
Oh, okay. So let's Marvin Gaye and get it on. All right. Well, that deals with that then, doesn't it?
I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
So he got shot point blank by his father. So that's not what doing a Marvin Gaye is.
No.
Okay.
That's I didn't know that. When you told me, I was shocked.
Who was your other notable death in 1984?
Indira Gandhi, the president of India. She was assassinated by her own bodyguards because what she did is she went in. There's a religion in India, which I can't pronounce, but it's a religion, monotheistic religion, monotheistic one. And she had she ran this operation called Operation Blue Star. Basically, was to remove the leader of this religious group from some sacred temple in India. So she did that while she was in power, and unbeknown to her, her bodyguards were part of that religion, and they didn't like it, so they fucking shot her.
Oof. Yeah, there's a real mishmash of religions in India and Pakistan, and that's why you get these huge clashes on the border and stuff. What's one of the famous Danisha, the elephant god with the
elephant god.
Yeah.
One other big thing that was in 1984 was AIDS, just to keep the mood up. Australia ran this commercial, George, that was all about pulling your head in and taking it serious.
At first, only gays and IV drug users were being killed by AIDS. But now we know every one of us could be devastated by it. The fact is, over 50,000 men, women, and children now carry the AIDS virus. That in 3 years, nearly 2,000 of us will be dead. That if not stopped, it could kill more Australians than World War II. But AIDS can be stopped, and you can help stop it. If you have sex, have just one safe partner, or always use condoms. Always.
Pretty grim.
Jeez.
Oh.
The people
that
just
was on
listening.
Commercial TV.
So people just listening to this without seeing video need to see that in that video there was a Grim Reaper bowling people with using a bowling ball and just bowling down families and little kids, saying they're all going to die.
What about the mum that had the baby and then she gets she was the 9-pin.
but
That's a dark
they
bad.
only had to worry about the only risk was having unprotected sex, not touching a doorknob. You know, like now it's like,
Now you gotta wear a condom on your finger.
It was a conscious
Don't
choice.
get me started on the paper.
Yeah.
Do you reckon
it
they'll
was
do
such a
one of those?
conscious choice.
Do you reckon they'll do one of those fear-mongering ads for COVID? They should, eh? Because ultimately that was a pretty dark ad, but it would have made you stand up and gone, "Yeah, look, we got to. This is serious," you know.
I don't need any more.
Hey George,
fear.
have you got to go? Have you got to go to have a feed?
Go.
We can do the Legend of Bellin. All right.
I'll let you
Before you
guys
go, just give us your vote. Legend of Bellin, Conor McGregor. What do you think?
Oh, jeez. Oh man, that's a real toughie.
Daryl
Tuffy.
Come on, mate.
Real Daryl Tuffy.
Have you got one more minute? I'll play you Conor's best.
I almost need to stick around.
I'll just play you Conor's
yeah.
best bits for his interviews. Like, this will just go for a minute, all right?
Conor, you tweeted out with the video, that jump shot, that your confidence comes from your big ball sack. Can you elaborate on that?
Again, I revert to my old friend, The Truth. That's where my confidence comes from. My big ball sack. Stop.
Who do you think would give you the hardest fight out of anybody on stage? Right here. This guy TKOs people. When I knock people out, they don't fucking move. They're not. Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that? You know damn well who I am. Who the fuck is that? Oh my God. Fuck you.
Conor, don't throw those fucking hands. Conor!
I actually do really, really enjoy Vegas. I've buried 3 bodies clean out here. So Saturday night will be a 4th body.
As long as I have my belt at the end, how I look it's unimportant to me. How this guy looks is very important to him.
You're damn right.
That
my socks were worth more than your whole suit you had on, you little bum. You broke.
Conor, what a man.
Well, I mean, he walks in a circle of bellends, so he, relative to the rest of the guys there, he looks like a legend. Plus, I'd be way too scared to call him a bellend.
Okay, so you're voting with Legend? All right. Enjoy your feed, mate.
I'm going with Legend. All right, boys.
Good on, mate.
Okay. Hey,
see you, mate.
Well, this is going to be the last show that we have to close out without George. I know that when he leaves, you guys think that our show goes well and truly downhill. Well, it can't go much more downhill than what we've already been talking about. So tough shit.
I actually think we've got some good areas. I think it really picked up when we started talking about shit.
We certainly focused on one area for a while, didn't we? Look, I reckon with Conor McGregor, at the end of the day, George made a good point. He walks in a circle of bellends. Arrogance and flamboyancy and all that shit, it just comes part and parcel with fighting, with boxing, with UFC, with all that stuff. It's part of the spectacle. That's why they get paid this big money, because they're entertainers. They entertain before the fight, they entertain in the ring, they entertain after the fight. That's what they do. And his idea is that if you can beat them verbally, you can beat them mentally, and if you can beat them mentally, you can beat them physically. So that's where he gets his motive from to act like that.
Okay, so if we were talking about this in 2015, Legend, but I reckon he crossed the line. Did you see that CCTV footage when he hit that bloke, that old guy at the bar in Ireland?
Yeah,
that was the point where I go, nah, you're a bellend, mate. Like, you're a bellend. There's no getting around that. Like, it's clear as day. Like, he was trying to big note and pour his whiskey and all this sort of stuff, but when you're a trained fighter, you've got a skill set that they're weapons, man. Like, you can kill people. And if he's conducted himself like that, like, how's he even in that situation? Like, nah. He lost me after that, because his documentary is brilliant. The documentary about his whole career and stuff, where, you get insight into, he came from nothing. And, this is a big issue, Bills. Like, when they get shitloads of money, like, he's a billionaire. Like, that fight with Mayweather, I mean, he was set up for life. But they can't.
85 million from that.
But you know what it comes down to, and the listeners will probably agree, is you could have that money and not be as happy as the guy that's on, a minimum wage, but he's got a solid family, and he's happy with his house, and he just enjoys the simple things. Whereas when you get to that level of fame, and you've got all these big watches and fucking awesome pad and all that sort of stuff, it doesn't work. It creates this false perception of like where you're at, I reckon, and they're always trying to climb to this level to get this fulfillment. And I reckon it can send them around the twist because, as George said, if you surround yourself, he's probably talking more about the UFC and that. But if you surround yourself with people that inherently change when you get rich, that's why everyone goes, oh fuck, I'd love to be worth 20 mil one day or 100 mil or whatever. I don't know. I question that.
Because that's human nature, man. Like human nature is nothing is ever good enough. And that's why that we live in a society where we often tread down the line that the world's ending, Okay, we're going through this pandemic right now. Oh, is this the Armageddon, There's always something that, there's a tsunami. Is the world ending? Is the world ending? Constantly thinking this. This is how humans think, always, because at the end of the day, humans, nothing's ever good enough for us. And that's human nature, man. Yes, there are a handful of people out there, and I have massive respect for those people that go, look, simple things are fine for me. I'm happy as Larry. But ultimately, we are wired to strive for the next best thing. So whatever you do have, you sincerely think, okay, I got to this, why can't I get to that? And that's how people continue to move forward in life. And there's never a limit. There's no ceiling. And so you can argue till the cows come home that having $200 million in your bank like Conor McGregor is enough. Absolutely, it's enough. But it's not for him because got to there. He's got to there. He's gone, why can't I get to 300? Or whatever the scenario is. But that's how humans operate. And that's why we always push forward. And that's why we always want to make things better. Like we build a city, awesome, skyscrapers, the elevators work, everything, the traffic flows perfectly. There's pedestrian streets. It's a beautiful city. It's not enough. You got to make it better. They still continue to build. Why can't they just go, actually, we've just made the perfect city. That's beautiful. Everyone enjoy it. No, they don't. They continue to build those cities to make them even better what they are.
It's weird as well. This is when we start going down conversation rabbit holes is, when everyone says, oh, what would you do if you win the lottery? And everyone goes, I'd retire and I'd just stop. Like rich people don't stop. Like as you said, once they get to a level of wealth, it's always about the next thing because if you do stop, you go around the twist. Like if you didn't have anything to do and if you weren't mentally challenged and it's like playing a bloody Nintendo game and putting all the cheat codes on and okay, you're smashing levels, but it's boring because it's too easy.
Yeah. But it's just it, mate. There's no ceiling for humans, unfortunately. But yeah, going back to Conor, I reckon, I can't condone what he did to that guy in the pub. That's absolutely bullshit. Like you say, he's got his hands are weapons, and there's no excuse for that. He does do some good things. He was ultimately, mate. He's a fighter. He's a thug. He's a thug.
Yeah.
And he grew up in a tough neighborhood. But he was bullied. He was bullied a lot as a kid, and that's why he got into fighting because he took a real different stance in fighting. He was like, even as a young kid when he was getting beaten up, he was assessing what happened. He was assessing, why did I lose that fight? Why did he hit me there? How could I have approached that differently? So he started studying the art of fighting, and that's how he got to the level that he is at now. And because he was bullied as a kid, he's a real big advocate for anti-bullying. And he goes and speaks at all these seminars. He goes to schools. He goes to youth centres, and he tries to say to these kids, like, violence is not important. There's other ways to diffuse situations. He does all that sort of stuff, which is cool, I reckon, as a fighter. Because if you're a young kid who likes to watch boxing or UFC or whatever, and you look at Conor McGregor as your hero, you look at him as your hero because of what he's doing in the ring, but he's trying to teach those people that, that's my job. That's what I do. I enjoy fighting. It's my life. But there's other ways to deal with things. So I rate that side about him. He's a thug, but that's quite good that he's taken that mantra.
Well, I didn't know enough about that. In fact, I remember seeing a clip when he was fighting in LA or Vegas or whatever. There was a guy that had a cutout of Conor McGregor that he put on his balcony, and he used to drive to the gym and he'd drive past this guy every day. And then he said, "No, I got to go in and meet this guy." And he did a video, pulled off, met the guy, gave him tickets to the fight, was really good with his fans and his supporters. So I'm sure the good that he does far outweighs the bad. But it's just when you see vision of a guy that is a hero, is a role model, has done all this good stuff, do something like that. You're just like, even if the old guy baited him, even if the old guy said, you're a dickhead, Connor, and he just whacked him. Like, as I said,
Well, you're
I don't
not advocating for what you are advocating for, the importance of not being violent if you're doing that kind of stuff. Look, I don't know. I think that he's a fighter. He is probably deep down a bit of a thug.
Can we vote like legend with bell end tendencies?
Yeah, well, I think. I mean, I'm going to vote legend for the good things that he does that maybe outweigh the bad. But I think that he's a human being without a ceiling, and he's a human being with flaws, like all of us. I'll vote legend, although I think he's a bell end.
Well, yeah, I think I'm going to go Ballin. Hey, mate, I'm going to give you the choice on how we wrap the show. There's two clips you can choose from. There's a scene from Karate Kid that was 1984, the crane kick, or a classic film that we were going to use to fire George up, which was Kickboxer. It was all about motivation. The scene when he was falling behind in his training and he had to kick this bamboo tree, and he didn't want to do it anymore, but he pushed through because it was all about his brother who Tong Po had taken out, put him in a wheelchair. What do you want to watch?
Righto, this is how we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to wrap it up by saying thanks for coming back to listen to us, guys. We've had a couple of weeks off. We might not have been so sharp early on, but we got our shit together. Let us know. Subscribe to our channels. Comment, rate, rank us. Let us know what your thoughts about this going live on Friday so you guys can interact are. We want to hear your guys' feedback, and we'll start that next Friday if you're interested. And yeah, just do all that stuff, and we'll leave you as our final parting gift with this beautiful scene from Kickboxer.
Kick the tree. That's it. Take your bag and leave my house.
What? What's going on?
You don't want training.
Hey, you want me to break my leg?
Your brother. Remember?
You want this? What about this?
Ready to protect?
Yeah.
All right, guys.